as homework for film and shows adaptation, I did end up reading that book with Harley Quinn, Birds of the Merds. We got a very interesting Batgirl story and Harley Quinn, of course, and we got Catwoman as well. It's a big party. It's like Birds of Prey, Whiteout, Black Canary. I did enjoy that reading a lot. That was very fun. More fun. And I am live, talking about Peacemaker, Season 2. In case you have missed Season 1, well, there are already 2 streams on my channel about Season 1. So be advised, full spoiler there. We will be covering the season, and we will be reading some of the comments of the people out there, because I don't know if I'm crazy, I don't know if I will make any sense. So let's really get into it. I think, as an opening statement, it was far better than whatever was Season 1. And I will say I like Season 1, but I had issues with it. And Season 2 really felt like an upgrade. Granted, some of the episodes are far worse. Like, I think 2 of the episodes, my 2 least favorite episodes this season, were getting very much under my skin. They were weak when compared to the rest of the TV show. But we also get like the massively great first episode that season had to offer. So let's get into it. My major issue with Peacemaker's second season would be the humor. It was the biggest issue with the entire season. Despite parts of it working and landing, the worst episodes had their humor and dialogue, making said episodes so much worse than your average TV show episode. I just think James Gunn, like it or not, he is a one-trick pony. Like, if you like that one trick, perfect. You will enjoy pretty much anything he has to offer. But if you don't, or if you enjoy diversity like me, I enjoy diversity, and I feel like the humor, the choice of humor was kind of lacking. It's a bit unfortunate because, again, I did laugh a lot, and I admit there were great moments throughout the season. And same goes for first season. But again, we get very long and dragged on jokes that keep going and going and going, and that's something that happens a lot with James Gunn. With Guardian of the Galaxy and the first season of Peacemaker, the only case where I didn't really see that big issue was with the Superman movie, but maybe I'm crazy and maybe I just didn't see it on my only viewing. But I feel like James Gunn just has that thing where he likes a joke, he will just hammer it home so much. This is what we got. So that was my only issue with Peacemaker's second season. Let's get into what I enjoyed. So I'd say the music and the action were solid. The characterization was great. I feel like we had massive growth for the cast and characters. The villains were amazing. The universe was well built and extended on, and we have a new take on Earth X. If you go back and watching the Red Blue podcast, we covered the Arrowverse, and they had a very interesting Earth X, and I won't say they inspired themselves with the one from the Arrowverse, but I can see parallels. I will say they are very modern there, and it's a raw version. Like, we got an African chick that get chased over because people of color don't exist on Earth X because they got captured, or they got hidden somewhere, or they all died or something, which is kind of funny. water is important. Anyhow, another very interesting thing, Peacemaker father. In season 1, he was the one of the main big bad outside of the butterflies. The butterflies were the reason why the team was made, or yeah, it was made. And Peacemaker father was the struggle Peacemaker needed to overcome in the first season. It was also the explanation on why Peacemaker is the way he is. But now in season 2, that Peacemaker father in that alternate Earth, on Earth X, is actually, I don't know how much of a good guy he is, but he is clearly a better father than the one Peacemaker had. And that's very interesting and enjoyable. And the other factor to consider is how different is Earth X. Because over Earth X, the Sons of Anarchy are the good guys, and they fight the regime, the far right regime, because the left is always good guys on Hollywood, right? Let's not talk about Antifa burning buildings. Anyhow, Peacemaker, despite not aligning with some of my belief, I think is a very, very fun TV show, and I think Earth X was probably the best part of season 2. Now let's get into a lot of the bullet point I had in my notes throughout the episode. Peacemaker learning the wrong lessons was really cool, and a lot of times that was like sneaky good humor. Rick Flag becoming as evil as Lex Luthor was amazing. I like that descent. He represents probably Ice or something like that, and that's why he's a bad guy with Argus and all. Peacemaker sacrificing everything so his friends were let off the hook was cool, and it made sense. Hardcore trying to protect Chris by trying to end the brother life was very fun. But here's the thing. I wish she got through with it. I don't see what they can do more with Peacemaker brother in the next season. Will it be like the next big bad? And now this time around, it will be by choice that it will take his own brother life for peace. That could be an interesting twist, but again, I don't know. I don't know. We will see how season 3 deals with all of that, if it gets greenlit. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it will. Interesting how the other vigilante joined the Sons of Liberty. It makes sense for him. Peacemaker desire to stay on the other Earth was great. Vigilante and Dio reacting to the multiverse was very fun. The glasses guy allegiance were with Peacemaker, which was great. Nice dilemma given to Hardcore, a job or Peacemaker, and she chose Peacemaker, and this shows how much she changed since season 1. Season 1 Hardcore would have thrown Chris under the bus, but not the Hardcore we got in season 2, which is amazing. Peacemaker escaping his reality made sense, and it was literal. He entered another reality, and I think that was another great example of sometimes the humor did work. It was irony, it was poetic, it was great. I like that kind of messaging. And it was a great planet until he realized that's when the Nazi won, and he doesn't like Nazis. It makes sense, right? It's Peacemaker and Nazi were behind World War II. Both girls, Dio and her girlfriend breaking up made sense. Hardcore being in denial of her issues made sense with her character. She's like that. She embodies toxic masculinity on a very well way, a very well made way, I'd say. Rick Flag hatred for Peacemaker made sense. Hardcore hitting rock bottom when thrown out was sad but great. Nice parallels with Hardcore and Peacemaker both being rejected. Hardcore having toxic masculinity was well shown. Funny how nobody listened to Peacemaker. It makes sense, right? He's the dummy, he's the stupid. Peacemaker trying to move past uh is past. Well, trying to move on would be a better turn of sentence. That was a cool aspect. That was a core idea of that second season. You want to escape, you want to redo everything, you want to go elsewhere. That's fun. Very fun. Now, this is a key moment in the stream where we give away our worst three episode and top three episode of that season, and place the other two in the middle. Like, they are really like the perfect definition of what's in the middle. So the worst three in last place, and I will shock all of you because I heard a lot of good things about that episode, and even James Gunn was like, "Oh, it's one of the best thing I made." Of course, he would say that, uh, but it's probably because he really enjoys these overplayed jokes. Maybe as a creator, he does it. I don't know if he consumes a lot of media, but I do, and I think this episode was the biggest example of what went wrong with that season. As much as the story itself was great, as much as the action was great, there's that humor, that dialogue aspect that was getting under my skin. Literally, it was so annoying to hear these drag on joke that keep going on, going on. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's endless. It's like a maze. So, my least favorite episode in Peacemaker second season. That's a very hot take because I did enjoy the ending of it. My least favorite episode is episode 8 with a 5 out of 10. Hell yeah, I think that's the worst episode of Peacemaker. Just because of the humor, just because of the dialogue. I think it was really bad. But again, that ending with Peacemaker being jailed in like Alcatraz or that new dimension they will call. I don't know how they will call it, but that's how we make cliffhanger. I'm kind of bothered because we didn't really close out the season and they really expect a third season. They shouldn't be doing that. It's 2025. It's not 10 years ago, because 10 years ago, shows would get renewed. Sometimes they would get canceled, but the day 2025, the competition has so much to fight off. There's so many TV and movie show, and there's so much content out there. So they will only keep what works best. And as much as I like Peacemaker second season, I don't know how much it worked enough for a studio to say, you know what, I will stand by it. I will greenlight a third season. I don't know. It's 2025. Show should always stop doing that. They should stop thinking they will be renewed. It's no more safe. It's really easy to get canceled. Your network get canceled, and then who's going to pick you up? People cancel subscription left and right because cost of life goes on the rise. So I really enforce that idea because, again, I like that ending, but I also don't like it. It's like I'm torn apart where that's a cool idea. Will we get a follow-up to it? My second least favorite episode this season was the second episode, and I was really wondering if the rest of the season would be like that, and I was like, we are in for pain and suffering. Lucky us, it wasn't the case. Or I didn't see it, or I didn't feel that way with the rest of the season. But the second episode is my second least favorite with a 6.5. So it's above the finale, but I was seeing cracks. I was like, the humor, the dialogue, the storytelling might not be perfect here. It's not a banger, and it's they dropped the ball because the first episode is wonderful. So how can you miss the mark on your second one? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. That's often the case. That's often the case. My third least favorite is episode 6 with a 9 out of 10. I really like that thing. That was a very fun episode, and I was very excited about episode 7. Now, my top 3 episodes. In last place, we got episode 7 with a 9.7 out of 10. My second favorite episode was episode 4 with a 10. And my favorite episode was the first one with a 10. And I'd say the first one is so amazing. It's one of my favorite episodes in that show. It's peak TV. Someone asked me, what should I watch? Peacemaker season 2 episode 1. Maybe you won't understand everything, but I think that set up that season so well. It's a candy, it's chocolate, it's sweet, it's enjoyable. We did that. We did that. We did that. We did that. That being said, season 2 for me was a 9.7, far better than season 1. I'm excited for a rewatch. I had a great trip there. And let's get into the next segment. The next segment. Where do I find it? There we go. So, the source of material. I will be blunt and honest. I've read lots of comics. I didn't read any about Earth X, so I won't speak about that. And I will just rehash what I already said last week. I don't think Peacemaker is faithful to the source of material, and I think it's by design. James Gunn said it himself. Let's not read the comics. Let's just do something of our own. That's a bit unfortunate because I think the comics have something. Like, I mean, we got a smart scientist that's also someone that spend lots of money on helping the planet, and when diplomacy, when speaking out doesn't work to solve issues, this is when he suits up and goes in war to get peace. Peacemaker. That idea was really cool. It's like a Batman but with guns, and a more extreme Batman per se. And it was really involved politically in that era because wars, a lot of times, they are political. Now, the other iteration I've read was the one where when he ended someone, that person's soul would go in the helmet, and then the helmet would speak, and that voice would be coming from all of the soul in the helmet. So that would drive Peacemaker crazy. And that iteration is also smart, but is a crazy smart guy. Like, literally, he is crazy, but he is also smart. So it's very different from the buffoon, the stupid guy we got with the Peacemaker TV show. And as much as it's likable, it's cool, it's James Gunn like, hopefully they will bring Peacemaker to somewhere else at some point. If they really plan on making several seasons, maybe the Peacemaker TV show was the origin story, and maybe we should lead into, you know what? Let's adapt the comic if we are like in season 4 or 5. I think if they already adapt the comic with season 3, that would be a bit fast, a bit harsh to be like jumping from a buffoon, a stupid guy, to a very clever guy, just a snap of a finger. I don't think it would work. What could be also great is if through that multiverse he gets to meet another Peacemaker where that Peacemaker is clever, that Peacemaker is more like the comics, and then he inspires himself to become more like the comics. And that could be a great adaptation where that's what they could do. Do I trust James Gunn to do that? I don't think so. I'm sorry, but it's not happening. Content creator like me, well, They have better ideas than the people making the content, unfortunately. Uh, and maybe because we don't have the same kind of worry and we don't have the same kind of pride, I'd say. So yeah, I think as an adaptation, Peacemaker season 2. Again, I didn't read anything Earth X related. I think that adaptation is lackluster. Wasn't great. Earth X was really cool as a story on its own. It's not a comic book thing. It's cool. I like it. The multiverse is indeed comic book accurate. So maybe I'd say I will give them credit where credit is due. They adapted very well the concept of another Earth, another timeline, another reality, another story. I think that aspect they did it well. And I can't remember what I've given last week, whether it was a 2 or 4 or a 5. But I'd say this time around, it's slightly above because it feels more like a comic simply because of the multiverse. So just because of that, I think I will go for a 6 as an adaptation, but I think that's the most point I can give. And if last week I had given 6, I drop it to a 5. I don't think I've rose up to a 6, but I think that's all accurate. That's a 6, and most of the points that 6 is worth for is the alternate Earth, the most interesting aspect to it. So, what did you think of Peacemaker season 2? Let me know in the comments once the stream is over if you get to watch the playback. Now we have a new section, a new one. That will be very short, just to see if we are crazy or not. We already introduced that segment in the other show, so let's do this. The Rotten Tomato. We won't read everything because it can take some time, but we will read quite a lot. So, Peacemaker season 2, 95% from the critique because it's very much left leaning. As long as you get that box check, your critique will be on your side. It's a bit unfortunate, but that's all the game is played, right? That's how the game is played. So, the audience didn't like as much. 78. It makes sense. It makes sense. Let's read the critique. Dimensional travel, vengeful relative, and spurt of bloody violence set the tone for a series that remained cartoonish change of pace. That's true. I think the humor is partly why it feels like cartoonish, and it feels like a comic as well. The next up, Gunn clearly loved these damaged character enough to carry them over to his shiny new universe, but he is also never afraid to put them through a ringer. It makes even the tiniest victories in their lives feel momentous. I agree. Like the first season, the second season of Peacemaker risks stretching too few jokes over too many hours, even if sometimes the joke going on for too long is the joke. But it's also strangely fascinating. Even with some complaints, Gunn and John Cena have accomplished incredibly impressive things in bringing Peacemaker to life over the past 4 years. Season 2 is an enjoyably intimate and organic character study of one of DC's most absurd character. Interesting. Let's get into the audience. I love Peacemaker Season 2! It's a different take on Chris Smith's character and has lots of emotion and art and kick butt music. Well, I do think the finale is sort of lacking. Overall, it was good. 5 out of 5 stars. Very interesting. Trikey. Very different from season 1, but not necessarily in a bad way. Season 2 is definitively more of a slow burn with a solid payoff. I know the last episode was very polarizing. Oh, I didn't know that. But he liked it. Okay, that's cool. 4 out of 5. At first, liked this season so much more than the first, but the finale wasn't as great as the rest of the season. But overall, I still prefer this one. Like the serious storyline with Chris and Eagles. Oh, Eagle-y. I think the Eagle-y thing was filler. It was just to find a reason to have Eagle-y like fly around. But in the bigger picture, it wasn't that harmful because we didn't get too many scenes. That one was a 4 out of 5. Now we got a gun hater there. There was some plot lines this season I was not a fan of. Eagle Hunt, Rick Flag, Lex Luthor, but there was also a lot of good. It balances out toward in the middle. Okay, maybe not a gun hater, but I will say maybe you misunderstood why Lex was brought in. Lex was brought in, and hear me out on that. It was brought in to tell you where that leads. You're a bad guy, you're power craving, you want to gel your enemies. This is the path Rick Sr. is heading to. He has that vendetta against Peacemaker. He goes to the extent of breaking the law. Like, Rick Flag is the bad guy that season. It makes sense why, and I mean, yeah, and I think he makes a very good villain. But the reason why Lex was around was to tell you this is where Rick may end up being in the future. It's some kind of foreshadowing, hopefully, finger crossed. James Gunn, don't miss the mark on that, but Peacemaker and Rick Flag dynamic was very cool. So yeah, overall, we must say Peacemaker Season 2 was something else. I really liked it. It will go down as one of my favorite adaptation we covered on the show as a separate product. Maybe not the best adaptation, but one of the most entertaining one that has something else to offer. So next week we talk about more things DC related, more bad girls and bad guys. So next week, talk about Birds of Prey, I believe, or Task Force X to remain YouTube friendly. Task Force X, you know what it is if you've read the comics. So either it's Birds of Prey and the awful story of Harley Quinn and so many girl power moments. Stay tuned for that. Don't know when exactly. Maybe Wednesday. Because Monday I think I will cover Black Phone. Black Phone is Monday, by the way. Tomorrow. Or no, not tomorrow. Actually, tonight. I don't have any reason to do it tomorrow. I'll do it tonight, later on. We talk about Tron Legacy later on tonight. We talk about Tron Ares and the original Tron. The entire trilogy, basically, later tonight on this channel. Saturday, we talk about politics again. We will do a follow-up to what we did last week about Bill C8 and C9 censorship laws, because it's disgusting, it's awful, it's Canada. Next Monday, Black Phone and Black Phone 2. Next Tuesday, James Bond. We talk about a very underrated James Bond, The World Is Not Enough. I really liked it on my most recent watch. It got flamed on, like a lot of James Bond. And we talked about the eternally, like, everyone hates that thing, Die Another Day. And I will be honest, I think it's a terrible movie, but I have every right to like it. So it's the kind of movie you're like, that's trash. That's like a guilty pleasure. I will tune in just to watch people fencing with sword and such. Die Another Day is bad. Really bad. But it's James Bond nonetheless, and I like James Bond. So even the worst dog crap you can give me, if it's James Bond, I will like it. We'll see how it goes with No Time to Die. That's the only James Bond I haven't seen as of right now. I've seen all of the others. Now, next Wednesday again, either we will talk about both Task Force X movies, or we will talk about Birds of Prey movie. And that's it. We are out. Thank you very much. Have a great one.